So, Pretend It's a City. I saw the trailer for this. It looked pretty good. It looked
Yeah.
pretty different. I mean, like, Martin Scorsese isn't new to the world of, documentary filmmaking, but it was
Right.
interesting to me that he would, make something like this and not be, making like the new Irishman or something like that, right? So, I don't want to call this like a departure or whatnot, but I guess it's just something that he just wanted to do. I wasn't too familiar with the subject matter itself. That would be, Fran Lebowitz. I'm not
Yeah,
too
Fran
familiar
Lebowitz,
with
yeah.
Leibowitz. I'm not familiar with her work at all. But I saw the trailer and it looked really, really promising. I've been hearing great things about it. So, take it away. What was Pretend It's a City about?
Right. So Pretend It's a City is I would like to argue it's a kind of a little promo for the culture crowd for New York City effectively. Via Fran Lebowitz, who has been living there for effectively 70 years, right? It's basically just a focus on Fran Lebowitz as a public and cultural figure, right? What she is, she's a author, mostly known as a humorist, right? Not really a comedian in the same sense, but she did a lot of writing, most of her, her bag is effectively observational humor, right? And she's very good at that, right? So what she does, and she's New York true and true, and she'll just make hilarious jokes about, you know, uh, being in New York true and true. That's the whole thing. And it's this focus on her life, her career, modern observations, ideas about her as a subject and her sardonic social commentary, and then that's pretty much it. And it's just her all her networks and friendships and people she knew, and just stories. It's one of the last people that you'll have like that from the 20th century. She's one of these few people who not only were heavily connected, and also live long enough to talk about how heavily connected she was. So she will make references to people like Charlie Parker, and how she knew Charles Mingus, and how she you know her connections with Martin Scorsese himself, and his life and his observations through film, and so on and so forth. And that's the whole thing, right? It's stuff that it's perfect for me. If you used to watch his Sundance channel back in the days, I used to watch that a lot. That's what it was. It was just her
Okay, okay.
interpretations of, yeah, her interpretations of humor, and she's a very funny person, right? Her connections to not so much, well, she would have been not a little born in the time of the beatnik culture, but not really exposed to that. And then when she came of age, she would have been in the hippie time, right? And then just throughout that whole period of her observing New York, observing the history of New York, observing lifestyles in New York, how she used to be a taxi driver, how it was terrible. And it's just that. It's just her being a really funny person. And that just bouncing off, you know, everybody. And then what she does well is that she'll have just general commentary on things. Now, ironically, she represents a worldview and a lifestyle that I actually hate a lot. But
Oh, really?
the reason, I'll put it like this: the reason I hate it is because too few people within that culture um, joke about themselves as introspective as she is. The reason why she works is because she doesn't take herself seriously. And I don't know what to call it. I just call it the New York Times culture, right? It's people who look down upon modern culture or a lot of things in a sense, like, I don't have a television. Or again, I'm kind of making a stereotype of the inner city New York liberal, right? But it's the person who will only go to plays and make fun of blah 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 blah. And then, but at the same time, they're themselves not particularly like helpful in terms of changing the world, or none of these people are scientists or anything like that. It's usually New York journalists or where's called this by socialites, right? That thing.
Right,
And what
right.
she does, she's kind of like an inverted socialite. That's what she is. She's not particularly um, attractive. She kind of curmudgeon like. She have this big black coat, and she's kind of walk hunchback throughout New
Mm.
York. and
I
she's
saw
framed
bits of it in the trailer.
right,
Yeah.
and how she's framed, and she's always been framed as this kind of anti-socialite. Yeah, she's very ostensibly Jewish. She's a lesbian. That whole counterculture and how to see the world from the other side of things, kind of thing. And she will talk about these things. And what she is good at. Now she has become much more mainstream in recent years, and well, I'd imagine so. She's now in her 70s. I mean, it's time to cash in, as I'll make that joke, right? But she's always been someone who has been friends with the intelligentsia. So what they do is they frame her with old interviews that I'm familiar with, and they show those old interviews with her new stuff, with her being interviewed in the thing. So it's a kind of meta interview driven documentary, right? And her as a subject, and that's how the entire thing is framed, right? And then they will put what's also brilliant. They'll put a lot of Martin Scorsese films in context of her speaking of it, because yeah, he is ostensibly Mr. New York as well, right?
Yeah,
And
definitely,
why?
definitely.
Yeah, so why it works is that she will reference so they had like interviews with Spike Lee, right? And it's a great a couple sections of Spike Lee. Um, she have interviews with Toni Morrison, right? Again, another great black player, right? And art person, right? And that's the entire thing. It'll just be her in context with all the things. She have it was Martin Scorsese also as an interviewer, and she had Alec Baldwin also as a main interviewer. And it's all of
Okay.
these big things they cut together, and then in the modern context of her, well, effectively in 2020, and the final perspective of her as a observer of reality, effectively. She have a lot of books, she have a lot of stuff, and that's it. It's an enjoyable reflection on American culture from a specific person who I have a lot of respect for, and I enjoy a lot to hear and listen. She's legitimately hilarious and funny. She has a lot of great points. Like this really good. This a nice point that more attached to me. She makes the point about, so she and Spike Lee clashes over whether or not an athlete can be an artist, right? So there's a classic how she thinks. So she made this statement how an athlete cannot be an artist if you only if you're comparing the athlete to say a dancer, maybe. But she don't think the athlete can be an artist. And she makes the point that the reason why the athlete can be an artist is because you cannot reflect back on the athlete's performance, because the athlete's performance is only in the context of the game. And but Spike now says no. You could look back at the athlete's performance without the context of the game and enjoy it. Now I happen to agree. I understand her talking point very, very good.
Right.
Uh, but I happen to agree with Spike in this position. And Spike references Michael Jordan. He said, no, you could
Yeah, of
look back
course.
at
Spike is a basketball head, right? So
right,
yeah.
right. But so what he says is that no, you could look back at old games of Michael Jordan, have nothing to do with the score, or how the game turned out. It's more to do with how he performed and just the amazing shit he did, right? I understand where she's coming from in the context of things, because when you talk about art, like you talk about some Rembrandt or something, that has to do with the just had not to do with the context of how he painted it. It's just how you feel now about seeing it. And can you do the same for an athlete, right? Even because the athlete's his entire goal, if it's ancillary that he does this amazing performance and it looks beautiful or whatever it is, that's not the reason. The reason he does it is because he need to score the goal or whatever it is, right? Get the ball in the hoop or whatever it is, right? And I understand where she's coming from, but I actually agree with Spike. And this is like in my just apply to my own personal anecdotal self.
Mhm.
Almost every morning when I get a chance, all I'll do is just sit down for like half an hour or so and just watch Magic Johnson highlight reels. That's all I'll do. Just watch Magic
Okay.
Johnson highlight. Right, that's it.
That's cool. That's
And
cool.
right. So and the reason I do this is because it's just absolutely amazing to just watch Magic Johnson perform as a basketballer. Have nothing to do if they won that game or not. Is these amazing passes he makes, right? Just watch a Magic Johnson highlight reel. That's all I'll do for like about half an hour. And that alone is like almost meditative, because it's like really, I mean, it's no joke to call Magic Johnson a magician, because
Mm.
it's this these insane like passes, sleights of hand kind of stuff you'll do. That have
Right.
nothing to do with the sport of the game. And I have no problem calling that art now, in that sense.
Yeah.
And so it's these kind
Question
of
before I forget. Sorry to interrupt. Do these highlight reels motivate you, to go about your day or something?
yeah, no, that's it. It's just it's like that, right? It works effectively like meditation. Like to me personally, it's just something I'll just think it's just the zen of Magic Johnson. That's how I just think about it.
All right, I respect
And
that. That's
that,
cool.
so that's why the context of this, that's the kind of context she talks about. That's the kind of stuff she brings up in conversation. She almost always has something really interesting to say and legitimately funny with it. And her I won't say cantankerous, but kind of acerbic approach to life, which works. It totally works. She's one of those people who very likable. Is one of these people who are acerbic, but you could tolerate the behavior. And it's one of those people who fits in that mindset really, really well. And that's why she's a great public figure. She's legitimately hilarious, and that's it. I can't really add any more to it other than you should just watch it. I do recommend this. It's very funny and charming. It's well edited. I mean, Martin Scorsese is brilliant at it. They do make some great references to her film career. Remember, she had that little scene in Wolf of Wall Street, for example.
Oh
And yeah, it's
yes,
just fun.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
I remember that.
where in the courtroom, right, where she was the judge. And yeah, it's just great. It's just great and funny to watch her play herself out as a public intellectual and figure. And she's kind of 70, so I'm not sure how much time we have left with her. But yeah, this was a pretty good watch for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a while I've been watched something like this. But it is very, very funny and well done and charming as a thing. So I do recommend it. If I were to give a number or rating, yeah, a decent, easy 8 out of 10 for me. Um, you know, it's up to you to if you tolerate this kind of worldview and lifestyle, but it really romanticizes New York, especially
Mhm.
post COVID. Well, hopefully post COVID. Um, true during COVID, we should say still.
Yeah,
How New York as a city would have taken a hit from a tourist standpoint or whatever it is. I'd imagine that's a big part of why this exists.
right.
But it is well done. You understand why it is you love the city. Why there's a whole running bit about why the city reference and her reference in city and the title of the thing. Why it is that people love New York? There's an interesting, yeah, again, anti-commercial nature of the city that works. It's the rebellion nature style of commercialism, right? That's why she works as a figure, and why she works in context with New York. She is New York, and they get into that really, really well as a person in New York and how to love why it is you should love a city, and it's an interesting charm about it. So yeah, 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed this and I liked it. Yeah, I do recommend it for anybody who like that and love New York as a city. So that's it.
All right. Well, as someone who has been to New York, actually, for I think it was like roughly 10 years ago. Yeah, 2011, I went.
Right. Right.
I would always say that that's my second home. Like, I just have this affinity to New York. I guess mainly is because I'm a huge fan of East Coast hip hop, right? But
Right.
I feel like something like this won't appeal to everyone. I'm not just saying
No, yeah.
non-New Yorkers, but just people who I don't know, just probably want to just relax or sorry, Netflix and chill now. I have a feeling that this mightn't work for them really, but you have to go in with the sense of who these people are and then, enjoy it for what it is now. I don't think it'll
Right.
work for everyone, but I have a feeling it'll work for me for sure.
It does. I'll admit it falls into my kind of sensibilities as some bougie shit, right? As I say, when I make my reference to Magic Johnson, it's really in the context of me having some black chai and in the morning at 6 o'clock. It's that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
after with my fruit juice and my cut orange slices. That shit,
Hmm.
right? That's how I live more. But that's my morning, effectively. With having either chai or coffee, whatever it is. It's that. But it does appeal to that sensibilities. Again, she's a person that you could understand even before the internet or something like that. You could understand her appeal as an intellectual. She just will show up on some talk show or something like that. She's legitimately hilarious, and that's it. She just enjoys herself and her life, and she's that kind of person going forward. Yeah, so that's how I see it. Yeah.
All right, so let's move on now to One Night in Miami, right? This was a show that, well, all right, like I saw the trailer for this late last year.
Right.
I was excited by it because I saw it was Regina King directing
Yeah.
this. This being her first, directorial, sorry, her first feature film. Also, the premise of it, right, which I didn't even know till literally the end of the movie was based on a stage play. And the thing is, like all through the show, I was like, this have some a stage this feel to it, you know, but
Yeah,
only when the end you see it's like, oh, okay, duh, right.
yeah,
But
yeah. So it's a guy who directed one of our favorite films of last year, Camp House. Um, he wrote this as well.
yes,
Yeah,
and he also wrote
yeah.
Soul. Well, and
Right,
more or less
right.
co-directed it as well too.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah,
that
yeah, and I mean, dude, this man literally is on a roll by as far as writing goes.
yeah,
Yeah. All right, so I will more or less run through what it's about, right? So essentially, it's a fictionalized account, right? So basically,
yes,
it centers on well what we know of the meeting between um Muhammad Ali when he was called Cassius Clay, right, and Malcolm
yes,
X, right. This would be where well, basically this meeting in Miami, and afterwards Cassius will come out and say that he joined the Nation of Islam, right. But pretty much this story, adds two more characters into the mix. That would be legendary NFL star Jim Brown
right,
and legendary soul singer Sam Cooke, right?
right.
So all of them were friends, right? They met through different circumstances, but the show is not about how they met, right? It's just mainly about just them meeting up at this hotel, and this follows after a legendary bout between Cassius and Sonny Liston, right? So he won that. This was in February 1964, and then they just head to the hotel just merely for this a after match get together. I can't really see a party really because it's not really a party, right? Basically Jim and Sam and even Cassius, I mean, who's always talking about how energetic he is, right? He's going to we're gonna have fun, we're gonna, drink beers and have girls about, but Malcolm is there, right? And he's like, well, no, this is not what we're about. We just really here to reflect about what's going on. And from there, it's just mainly about these four individuals kind of talking about their views on, just the social climate of the
Yes.
60s,
Hmm.
especially in terms of race. Everyone has their different perspective. Well, more or less it's the same, but different perspectives. Mainly in terms of, well, particularly with Malcolm X, right? Because, of
Right.
course, he is like, preaching, Black Power and all that kind of stuff. People are perturbed by the way he called, the white man, devils and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Right.
And I expected this, sir. He's kind of trying to let everyone know, not just Cassius, but Jim and Sam know because of their platforms that they should be doing the same thing. They should be trying to bring about change, right?
Right.
But to their heads, it's just like, well, we kind of doing it in our own way. You know what I mean?
Right.
So can't be telling us that we had to go on some pulpit and preach. You know what I mean? But Malcolm is smart enough to know that no, I'm not saying that, but you could be doing more. You know what I mean? And so we just have this kind of sort of a like a on again off again button of heads between these four individuals, and it's just really how their lives change on this one night in Miami, right? So Ricardo, what were your thoughts on this movie here?
I absolutely loved this movie.
Yep, same here too.
This would have probably made my top 10 if I saw it last year.
Yep, same here too.
Yeah. Why? Okay. So I wasn't digging it until they got to a certain point. This is when they had a serious argument on the roof. And now why it works is that it why this really worked for me is that it focused on the two figures. When I actually think about it, it's like, oh shit, it's the two figures who within a year of this meeting both die. That's Sam Cooke and Malcolm X, right? Right. Sam
Correct.
Cooke,
Yeah.
dies in December. Malcolm X dies in February 21st, right? And this meeting was, I think, February 25th of the previous year, 64, right? And he
Yeah.
dies
Yeah.
February 21st of 65. And it was this kind of weird portent of them, the two most ones who clashed. Again, this is all Kempower's elaborations and establishing. Not sure if it's true, but it's embellishment, right? The arguments that they get into is really good, right? Because it gets into a lot of great classic debates within the Black community. The whole incrementalist versus um, revolutionary approach to change. What direction, if you should do the more subtle backlog argument or the more in your face type approach to change, and so on and so forth, right? And it distills itself so well in terms of the characters' personalities and everybody bouncing off each other it works so well. And why it also works is in the context of, well, Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali's championship and him winning the championship at age 22. You have to forget these guys really goddamn young. This is very early in their careers and lives, and
That's right.
how
Yeah.
these people their lives were cut so short at the time now. And that's it. It's just a good character piece of four friends, right? It really bounces us off. Whilst the ones who wasn't the part of the central conflict in the storyline, they went on to have long flourishing careers. Jim Brown went on to have a great film career. Bunch of great
Mhm.
films, great action
Yeah.
films, great comedy films.
Yes.
Anybody forget
Yes.
I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, one of the funniest movies
Oh
for me.
yes, one of the funniest
Yeah,
blaxploitation
when
parodies ever.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Right. And and then, Muhammad Ali goes on to become this amazing American icon, in
Yes.
sport. He died when he died, like about 10 years ago. How long he
I
died?
think yeah in the
Uh
2000s or was it I think it's either in the
I
2000s
can't
or 2010s. I can't remember. Sorry.
yeah, I can't remember. It was relatively recent. But it's just the idea of the just yeah, these classic arguments that you see distilled through personalities. And well, you have four great actors. Well, the person who stole the show for me was, well, your boy Leslie Odom Jr. from
Oh yes, from Hamilton.
Hamilton. Yeah.
And
As
I
Sam
know
Cooke.
he was going to sing, and I know like yeah, he was going to sing a particular song, but the song that he chose and
Right.
he sung pretty much in the end. That's all you'll say.
Yeah.
I don't know. He just killed it in
Yeah.
my opinion. He
Yeah.
killed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And White Wolf as well is the guy who played Muhammad Ali. Holy shit! Like, I was like,
Here's the thing.
you're kind
Here's
of,
the thing. Right. So
I
the actor who plays him is Eli Gorey, right?
yeah,
I was watching him. I was like,
yeah.
he's almost he's better. If not, I would say that he clearly is better at playing this than Will Smith was in Ali from
Oh yeah, of
2001.
course. Like, that is the
Although, all
blockbuster.
right, well, here's the thing.
Well,
Like,
two things.
let's talk quickly about that movie, right?
Yeah.
I would admit that, I mean, as a Will Smith fan, kinda, not the biggest fan of that movie. I felt that Michael
Right.
Mann had the wrong approach to it. He had this sort
Right.
of weird, overly dramatic vibe to it, and it just didn't fit with the movie.
Right.
But Will's charisma and energy was there. But sorry, when I saw Eli playing Cassius Dread and just down to the voice and all the
I was
mannerisms and the look, I was
completely
like, but this man doing it, this man killing it,
yeah.
Dread. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
I was completely lost in the role. I was like, yeah, and for like half a minute, I was like, well, yeah, this is not Muhammad Ali. Holy shit! Like,
Yeah.
you had to consciously remind yourself of that. He really was good. But the big central conceit who sold it quite well, I felt, was Malcolm X.
Yes.
Why it worked and why it
Brilliant
worked so well.
performance
Yeah.
by Kingsley
Yeah.
Ben-Adir.
Kingsley
Brilliant.
Ben, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
but my name is Kingsley Ben, right? Love,
You know,
love it.
brilliant
No, but
performance.
why it worked is that because he was the most vulnerable figure there. That's why it worked so well.
Yes, he was.
Emotionally vulnerable, because he's the one who's supposed to be the big, fire and brimstone leader, and he's the moral core, of his righteous Islam kind of thing, and he ended up being the more kind of subversive figure in the whole bunch, right? Especially given the context of what going to happen to him going forward.
Yeah.
His relationship with the Nation of Islam, and well, his subsequent assassination, right? And also his Hajj to Mecca, right? Because this is before the Hajj to Mecca. Yeah, you forget all this bullshit happened in one fucking year. Like, yeah.
I know,
Um,
right? Yeah.
and why it worked is just to get that context of it, and they get into all these great talking points in the black community that we are accustomed to, right? Classic one. How come light skinned brothers more righteous than dark skinned brothers? That's a good
Yes,
point.
I love that. And
Yeah,
just want to bring up that point there, right? So
yeah,
um well, basically, slight spoiler, this conversation, this argument
yeah.
involves Malcolm and Jim Brown, and I was
Jim
worried
Brown,
that
right?
they were going
Mhm.
to underplay Jim Brown. He was just going to be the guy
No,
like, you know what,
yeah,
I just here, I just doing my
right,
thing,
right.
but I love how they brought him in that moment, and also throughout the show too, because yeah, at first he might seem like the quiet one, but he have a lot to say here too, especially with that argument though. So yeah.
Right.
Oh, and by the way,
Yeah.
he's played by Aldous Hodge, who I forget
Right.
played friggin' MC Ren and Street Other Come. I was like, what?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Well, no, this other
Forgot
I
you.
know him from. Yeah, off the top of my head, I just know him from that Black Mirror episode, and
All right. Yes.
He was in Star Trek Discovery. one of the short tracks, Calypso, I
Okay,
think, if I remember
all
correctly.
right. Those
Uh,
which I haven't seen, unfortunately, but shame on me.
right.
Right.
So yeah. So he was good in it. Yeah, he didn't. Well, the thing is, I don't remember what young Jim Brown looks because we only know Jim Brown as old Jim Brown. But he was pretty good. Well, to me, Leslie Odom was the highlight for me. Leslie Odom Jr. as Sam Cooke, he was great. As I say, Kingsley Ben was good, and Kingsley Ben was good as Malcolm X, and then your boy as Muhammad Ali, great. And they nailed it. They absolutely nailed that four-player dynamic. Right? It's just really, really clever, really funny, um, genuinely charming. Relationships the four of them have, and it could only be the product of an embellishment of a play, right? But no one knew what really happened in that thing. Good little side roles too. Little side parts that had little funny moments. Yeah, your boy was freaking the
Yeah,
bodyguard. That's all
Lance
he was doing.
Reddick.
Yeah, last friend was just the bodyguard. I was like, you would think he would have a bigger role, eh? No, he just was the
Yeah.
bodyguard. But like he was just the cook in what do you call
In
it?
Sylvie's not Sylvie's Love.
No, the dad. He was the
No,
dad in Sylvie's Love.
right. He was
Cook
the dad in Sylvie's
in
Love, but
thing.
he was also in what other show was he
Oh
in?
god, the with Tom Hanks now. It's
Oh,
freaking mind, and
Greyhound.
there's another
Greyhound.
Tom.
Yeah,
Greyhound, right, right.
I forgot he was in Greyhound too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was
Well,
Greyhound.
yeah.
A little Jesse Cook, right? And
Mhm.
but it's a great little bit part because it's really good. He has a really to be a very funny moment with Sam not with Sam Cook with Jim Brog.
Oh, I know you talk
He,
about.
yeah.
All we say
And
is
it's
God is
just
great, right? That's all we say. God
right,
is great.
right. Yeah. And it was just excellent, Jed, overall. I didn't expect it to be as well done as it was. I didn't expect it to be as just so humanistic and grounded as it was. It's just four friends putting it together. I never saw the play. I never even read the play or the book. But it was just well done. And then we girl Regina King just hold it together. And really just paced it well, framed it well. She got great performances out of these actors, and I really really love this. My rating 9 out of 10. If it was if I had see this in a different time, I'd probably get a 10 out of 10. As I said, the beginning was a little slow for me, but overall I just really really liked it.
All right. Well, I agree with you for the most part, right? I would say the first act it's not flawed, right? But it does take a while for the story to really pick up, though. But I do like and respect the fact that it gives you enough time to see all four characters in their elements doing, just kind of
Right,
dealing with their own
right.
individual stuff now.
It was it.
Especially a
Yeah,
kind of jaw-dropping moment involving Jim Brown.
you're
Near the
right.
end of his opening moment, I was like, "Oh, that
Right,
that
right, right.
that's where we're going." Okay, right,
Yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah, right.
I do
It
like
was. It
how.
was.
Go on.
No, yeah, it just sets them up reasonably well. But I felt that took a little, as I say, it took a little too long. It just dragged because it's good. It's good. A lot of these scenes good on their own, but I felt they probably could have like chiseled some of that stuff out, or maybe I'm not sure, like cut it down a little bit, maybe. But I get that the point was to set up the impact. So what the later character stuff builds up. So I get the purpose of it. They do
Yeah.
the classic Malcolm X in the pool thing. Under
Yes.
sorry, not Malcolm X,
Um.
Muhammad Ali
Um. Yeah.
underwater. Yeah, that the boxing under the pool thing. They do all of these things, and it's like, oh, like he did that in that setting. I didn't even know it was there. Like, it was that there. I can't remember the details. I had to go on the Real versus Real website and nitpick, the history of it. But again, it was we know from ahead of time it was clearly embellished and not meant to be historically accurate. Whatnot, it's just historically accurate context, right? That's it. Um, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Right. But I felt like I think it's just with that same Jim Brown opening that like I was expecting that these opening moments would have come back or be brought up again, like
Right,
in one of
right.
the more intense verbal scenes now. But it
Nah,
kind
nah.
of didn't. It just kind of set
Yeah,
up the world that he's in, and it's just okay. Well, maybe that led to a decision that will impact his career.
right.
right? That's all you're
Yeah,
saying.
nothing like that. Yeah, it's just him feeding into the how he thinks about the world and how you get into the world. That kind of stuff now. And
Yeah,
they had a bit part for that Bo Bridges, right? It's like, well, Lord,
I
you
know,
know,
right?
yeah, right,
although one moment with him, I was just like, ooh, oh, ouch.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
But
real big
I
shit.
felt with everybody else, that would be Malcolm, Sam, and Mohammed. Well, Cassius, but I'm sorry. Yeah,
Right,
those moments kind of came back, in terms of
right,
the character build development.
yeah,
Speaking of character development here, near flawless in my opinion though. I
yeah,
love how all four actors play these roles, not like I'm really glad that it weren't like, oh well, caricatures of themselves, like, oh, Malcolm X is the type of person who has to speak authoritative, so that's the
right,
character. But no, in this case, as I say, he's vulnerable. He's literally looking through windows, looking to see if any FBI agents tracking him down, because he knows
well,
what's
right, yeah.
going on there. You know what
Well,
I mean?
it deeper than that because not just FBI agents, but Nation of Islam dudes as
I
well. Now,
know,
remember
I know,
that?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And one
yeah,
shot you see that, I was like, wow.
yeah,
But I
yeah,
appreciate that. I really appreciate that.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What was I gonna say? You're right. So I love that everybody plays them like, real lived in characters, because I mean, yes, they were real figures, right? But
Yeah.
they're not like larger than life. Well, I would say with the exception of, say, a Malcolm or a Muhammad, but I like how they were humanized now. So you feel like, they're mortal
Right.
men. I mean, they're doing their thing, they love it, they have the opportunity, but they feel like they're doing it for a purpose. But here we are on this one night, and you tell them, I'm not doing enough. So that's where things had to spring up from there, and that's where the heat had to
Yes.
build, basically. So I dug that. And I just love how these arguments, I mean, they're tried and true. I mean, these are things that will still be questioned, right?
Yeah.
They don't give clear answers, but it's enough for you to be like, well, right, I understand where you're coming from. Oh, you understand where I'm coming from. That's great. So I dig that, right? And also the fact that, yeah, I mean, these four individuals, I mean, we know them as, legends and whatnot. And here they're just, normal people. And I really dug that.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
acting is great from top to bottom, though. Kingsley Ben-Adir, he is, I don't want to say perfect, because I mean we have Denzel Washington to compare him to as Malcolm X. So,
Yeah. For
sorry,
real.
Denzel will be the Malcolm X in my opinion.
Yeah.
But Kingsley does a great job though. I'll give him that. Eli
Yeah.
Gorey, as I say though, he killed it as Cassius. But I was like, this man doing it better than Will. Because
Yeah.
sorry, no offense to Will, but Ali was Will being, what I mean? It was Will playing Muhammad. This one
Right.
was relatively someone who I don't know. Maybe I saw him in a show or whatever. But I think how it works is because I don't know him from anything else. I couldn't stop him like, oh, he's from that show. He playing that guy. No,
Right.
he did really feel like he was Cassius, right down to the look, right down to the physicality of him. I was like,
Yes.
man, isn't it?
His body type was
Yes.
like flawless. He looked like Cassius. He looked like the body type. It's like, holy shit, they really get
Yeah,
somebody
he has a
on
white
point.
face and everything. That's
Yeah.
sorry,
Same
Will
body.
don't
Yeah.
have that. I mean, Will
Yeah.
could bulk up in size, but no, it's
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Jim. Well, okay. All this who plays Jim Brown, I thought that he was great as well. I like that he wasn't like he will be subdued at times, but I like that he will speak out his mind when he's ready now, and
Yeah.
that worked for me. But yeah, Leslie Odom Jr. He stole it for me as Sam Cooke. Perfect, casting. I mean, not just because he could
Yes.
sing, but the man could act. He has
Yeah.
charm and charisma and stuff. And he is, yes, they have him riled up, especially Malcolm really puts him on the wall with this one, but and it brings up some really powerful moments from him though. I don't know if we're gonna get like maybe he might get an Oscar nom for it. Like if I had to pick between these four, could be
I don't
Leslie,
know, but
could be. I don't
yeah,
know exactly.
yeah. If it is up to me, I'd give it to Leslie for Oscar nom. I know if that'll happen. It does seem to be not getting the buzz that I think it'd get. Not compared to say Delroy Lindo in thing, right? In Five,
Five
right?
Bloods, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
yeah. So it's not like that. But yeah, he was pretty damn good in this for me though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that even though this didn't really happen, quote unquote, it feels like it could have. It feels like, yeah, if these guys were
Yes.
sitting down here in this hotel room in this one night, these are the kind of things we'll be talking about, right?
Right.
Nothing too
Right.
over the top and
Yeah.
lavish,
Yeah.
but
Because yeah,
serious matters.
because all of the conversations and scenarios felt incredibly natural. Like to me, none of it
Yes.
felt None of it felt contrived. Nobody
Oh,
drop
by
out
the
the
way,
answer.
you know about this? No. It
Yeah,
flowed
it
naturally. You're
flowed
right.
so well, right? That's why it worked for me, particularly well. Yeah, so Ken Powers, as they say, dropping it, right? Dropping bombs, right?
Yeah,
Um,
man dropping bombs, man.
yeah,
Respect to Ken Powers, man. And speaking of respect, though, Regina King, though, round
yes,
of applause, round of applause. I mean, I'm not saying like you're gonna get
yes,
some
yeah,
epic, grand, master shot or whatever it is. No, it's just how
yeah,
she, especially with the blocking of the characters, the cinematography involved, everything works the way that it should, given the scene and the intention. So
yes,
I wouldn't say go in expecting some Steven Spielberg or some Quentin Tarantino film out the gate, but just for the subject matter, what she does behind the camera works in my opinion. So
yeah.
yeah,
She does,
thoroughly, thoroughly done what she did.
yeah, she does a pretty good job with. Again, what she does well is avoid the whole film and a play problem, right?
That's right. Yeah,
It doesn't feel like a play at all. At all. I know it's a play, but it doesn't feel like that at all. Like even Marimi's Black Bottom had that problem for me, right?
yeah,
At parts, not entirely, but at parts. But this didn't. I didn't get at all with this. Like at no point I was like, where the film when I play. Like at no point. Camera was moving
yeah.
the way it should be. Editing was smart and movement. Color and framing and lighting was good. Like throughout, it didn't feel like that at all. It didn't feel like the form and plate stuff, right? That's why I liked it so much. So yeah,
Right.
so I'd say, well,
Yeah.
my rating 9 out of 10. You
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
gonna get to rating in a minute, please. Rating in a
Right,
minute, please. Right. So if I have a couple of gripes though, is that I don't know, the build up to the actual meeting did take a while,
right,
and I wasn't sure where the story was going to go once these guys were going to come together, right? Because the show kind of just advertises itself as, oh, it's just these four legendary black figures together in this one room. So I was just there like, okay, well, I don't know what's gonna happen. Let's see, but how things play out. It starts slow, a little bumpy, but once it starts to, develop itself, it's like, oh, okay, now I see what's going on, right? And
right.
secondly, no minor nitpick too. My boy Terrence Blanchard, right? Fellow collaborator with Spike Lee. He did the score for this, and I wasn't
Right.
really hearing that much of his music. Like they say it's
Okay.
there, but I wasn't really hearing that much of it. I heard other
Right.
songs, well picked songs, I must say, but I wasn't really hearing his work.
Okay. Right.
So like I'm not saying that it should be like a Spike Lee where the music is just so grand and in your face, but it was just way too in the back that I like if you told me he working it, I'd be like, oh really? I would not have known that.
Right.
But other than that, though, everything else is great. This would have been in my top 10 as well. This is one that, yeah, I highly recommend you check out. And don't think that the because the subject matter is going to be all heady and, hard to figure out and dull and boring. Just off of how the characters bounce off each other, the conversations, the
Yes.
dialogue, well written dialogue. I mean, and just the
Yes.
stellar acting and, of course, solid direction. Yeah, this worked for me. So I'm going to give this a strong 4 to a light 4.5 out of 5. This
Yeah.
would have been one of my favorite films of 2020, but
If I saw it. Yeah.
yeah, if we saw it then. But I don't know if by the end of this year we're gonna do these are the best
Yeah.
shows that we saw in 2021 that may not have
Right.
come out in 2021, and we
Right.
might
Right.
put this here. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
knows? But other than that, this is definitely worth checking out though, and yeah, I mean, I want to see Regina King make more films though. I don't know what the future is going to be for her directing wise. But yeah, I really want to see her, tackle, subject matter like this and just give us great films out of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, can't recommend this enough. So definitely check out One Night in Miami.